friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another phenomenal book to share with you. I recently finished reading Normal People by Sally Rooney and I got thoughts to share with you. I am so excited about this book, so let's go ahead and jump in. Similar to Clap When You Land, I had seen a number of my friends post about this book on Instagram, and it took me a while to get my hands on it. The library obviously was closed for a while and it was on multiple reserve lists, so I had to wait a bit. And you guys, this book is so good. So essentially the premise of the story is you have two main characters, Marianne and Connell, and the story starts out in high school. They're pretty different from each other. You have Connell, who is pretty popular. He hangs out with the cool kids, and he has what seems like a pretty easygoing life. There's a couple of things in his background, but it hasn't stopped him from becoming, liked by others around him. And then you have Marianne, who is really a loner, an outcast. She's an incredibly intelligent person, but she's not really liked by her peers, and she seems cool with that. She seems to just be on her own path, knowing that she's very intelligent, is going to accomplish great things, but right now in high school, she just hasn't really meshed with the population of students that she's with. The story takes place in the UK. I don't know much about the author, Sally Rooney, but I was able to quickly figure out based on spellings that we weren't in the United States, and then I got more information as the story went on. Essentially, what brings these two characters together is Connell's mother works as the housekeeper at Marianne's house. Marianne's family is quite wealthy, and Connell has to go to Marianne's house to pick up his mother on different occasions. And when he is waiting for his mother to finish up, he starts striking up conversations with Marianne, and this leads them into having a secret relationship where essentially Connell is really into Marianne and really enjoys who she is. They obviously have a sexual relationship, but nobody in school is supposed to know. And there's these painful moments where you're just oh God, this is awful, how Marianne is being intentionally kept secret and how she's okay with that. But it also is something that I don't think is that uncommon. I think it's very true to what happens in relationships from time to time. And the way the story progresses is it takes you all the way through college with Connell and Marianne. Their lives, although they may not always be in a relationship together, their lives constantly intersect. And it's really interesting to see the ebbs and flows of their relationship, of their friendship, just the connection the two of them have. The storytelling is really interesting in the novel because you get these huge jumps in time between chapter to chapter. So the very first chapter, it tells you we're starting in January of 2011. But then when you move to the next chapter, you're 3 weeks later. But then there are other times where you have months in between the two chapters. And that at first, I think when you hear that, you're wait a second, how can there be these huge jumps in time? But the way the author writes it, she does this really cool thing where you kind of get the backstory about what was happening during those gaps of time woven into these different moments, so you don't feel, it doesn't feel that abrupt. It's really, really interesting. I also find both Marianne and Connell really captivating and compelling characters. They both have flaws, but they also have these redeeming qualities. And there are moments where you're rooting for them, but then there are other moments where you're no, you just gotta walk away from each other and call it a day. And I think it really mimics the true human experience. And I think that's a really powerful thing to be confronted with. There were a lot of moments where I had to stop and come up for air from the book because it's really intense to read it. And I swallowed this. I mean, I read this in just a matter of a few days. There were times where I set aside real responsibilities to read this. It was just fully immersive and I was really into it. I feel the best way I can capture it is it's kind of like what I consider an indie movie, where nothing happens, but everything happens. You get to the end of some of those movies and you're wait, that's it? That's the ending? That's how we're ending this whole thing? And it's yeah, that's the way you get the resolution. And that's the way this book ends. I don't know if there's a sequel. I don't imagine this would be a book that has a sequel, but it ends in a way where you have a resolution, but you don't. There's this open-ended interpretation piece that, again, I think very much matches the human experience. So I really appreciate this novel. I know that, as the sticker here says, that they made this into, I want to say, a Hulu series. I'm wicked into the idea of seeing how they took this novel and turned it into a series, because I think that it would be challenging to do. This does make me skeptical. I have a feeling I'm probably not gonna like the TV series, but I am gonna give it a try and see if I like it. But I just gotta tell you guys, similar to Clap When You Land, this is a book that deserves and needs to be read. Like, you need to add this to your to be read book list. It is just so intense and so powerful, and I'm really glad I read it. I really want to read her other book, which I think is called like something to do with conversations. Yeah, it's called Conversations with Friends. There's an excerpt in this book, but I haven't read it because I don't want to read an excerpt and then have to wait weeks to get the library book. I'm just going to go ahead and add it to my library interloan requests and see how long it takes for me to get it. But very happy about this story. If you've read this, I'm very curious to know your thoughts. If you've watched the series, I'm curious to know if you thought the series was anything like the book, if it was at all as good as the book. But again, very happy with this. Definitely recommend that you go ahead and snag yourself Normal People by Sally Rooney, because it is just such a 10 out of 10. All right, guys, that is it for me. I'm gonna go back to my to-be-read list and pick another book, and I hope to bring you another review very soon. I appreciate you spending some of your day with me today, and I will talk to you in my next video real soon.